Hey everybody, this is Bourbon United. I'm here at Triple Nickel with Mel from Old Elk. So we're doing a tasting tonight, and she's going to just kind of give us a rundown of the brand, what they represent, where they're from, and where you can find their bottles in local distribution. Mel, would you introduce yourself?
Sure.
Tell us a little bit about yourself and the brand.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Yeah.
Looking forward to tonight and talking about Old Elk and our beautiful whiskeys. My name is Mel Maddox. I'm the production manager and blender for Old Elk Distillery. We're located in Fort Collins, Colorado, so it's really nice to come out and see what Louisiana is, drinking and enjoying, and appreciate the support. Tonight we've got a great lineup. We've got 7 different whiskeys that we have quite a few whiskeys, but these ones we hand selected for tonight because they really do tell the story of Old Elk and our brand and where we've kind of taken that. So we're going to be tasting our blended straight, our custom mash bill tonight. It's something that Greg Metze created for us back in 2013, and it's really been our flagship brand and bottle and whiskey. And then we're going to taste a couple different iterations that we've done with that. So we have a cask finishing program, and our blending has really kind of, it's changed, our approach to it. So something that we do is we take our different mash bills, we blend them together. We also finish our whiskeys in different casks and then blend those together for our cigar cut. So I'm excited to talk about those and to share the cigar cut. We've got a couple of releases that haven't yet come to market as well, so some distillery use selects.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, when was the brand started?
So we were started in 2013.
Okay.
And we started distributing in 2018. So we waited for our whiskey to mature, put it into the barrels,
Okay,
let it
so
hang
that
out.
was all y'all's own distillate.
So we
Or you mixed?
contracted, yeah.
Okay.
So we actually approached MGP back in
Okay.
2013 and had that conversation with them of, hey, we'd like to make whiskey,
Yep.
but we don't want to buy one of the recipes that you already have. We would like you to create something new for us.
So you gave them your recipe.
We did.
And
We
you did
did
a contract distillation.
Exactly.
Of
But
X
even more
number.
than us giving them our recipe, we actually asked Greg Metze, who was the master distiller at MGP at that time.
Okay.
And we asked him to take creative license and create what he thought would be a really excellent whiskey. So
Okay. Now
he
is that
created
that was the original?
That was our
grain?
original blended straight. So I think we have a
blended
bottle
straight.
of that
Okay.
right here. So the original blended straight was Greg Metze's custom mash bill of 51% corn, 34% malted barley, and 15% rye.
Okay.
So that high malted barley content is really what sets us apart.
So your
and was
malted barley's up at 15.
34.
Oh, 34.
34,
Okay,
yeah.
misunderstood.
Yeah, no, it's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Almost. I mean, you're pushing into the single malt category almost.
We sure are. We sure are.
Wow.
It's still a bourbon though at 51%
Yeah,
corn.
absolutely.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was the that's what we started with. We laid down around 8,000 barrels to start with of just that mash bill, and then we started. We said, Greg, what's next? What do you want to do next? And so he got really excited about doing a wheat whiskey.
Yep.
So he created a 95.5, so 95 wheat and then 5% malted barley mash bill for us. He also
No corn in
created
that mash bill.
no corn, and he really took that up to the
max.
wheat level to the max practically.
Yeah, because I've never heard of a mash bill with that much.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few small distilleries
Yeah.
doing like 100%, but the 5% malted barley that he left in there, that's really because he wanted to make sure that the process that you need when you're in the fermentation stage, you need a little bit of malted barley to help break down that mash and to get everything, doing what it should be doing and not foaming. And that's a way to do it without chemicals. So, he took all the knowledge that he had from the 95.5 rye mash bill and applied that to the wheat mash bill, knowing that it was a difficult grain.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why Colorado?
Why Colorado? Well, our founders are from Colorado.
Okay.
They own Otterbox up in Fort Collins, Colorado, and so
The case
The, like,
company
phone
for
case.
phones
Yep.
and iPads and
Yep.
all those devices. Okay.
Yep. And so that was one reason. And there was a couple distilleries doing some great whiskey at the time, and so I think that they were interested in doing something in their backyard.
Yeah,
and in
absolutely.
their community. Yeah.
The brand, correct me if I'm wrong, the brand had been a brand before, y'all bought the rights to the name.
You've done your homework, yeah.
Okay, which is really neat.
Yeah.
To me, it says Colorado without saying Colorado.
Exactly. Old Elk was originally a Wheated Distiller brand that had never been released, really, basically. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun to pull all these different pieces of, just history together. And,
absolutely.
Greg's, master distiller experience, and then the climate and the elevation of Colorado, all those things,
beautiful,
adds to the beautiful matured product.
When I say why Colorado, you should say why not. It's gorgeous, right? Why would you not?
I mean, Colorado's great.
It's amazing. How many of the products of those 30 would you say are blends?
I would say,
or finishes?
So when I'm counting those, we have a gin that is local to just our Colorado market.
Okay.
We have a vodka that's local to just our tasting room. We have a bourbon cream. But out of if you're going to talk about just straight whiskeys, we are currently at, 13, 14, 15? We're at 15. Yeah, so you're almost there. You've almost got all of them.
Yeah, I mean, what's your favorite?
That's a tough question.
I know, right?
It's not a fair question.
It's not fair.
No.
I personally really love the Wheateds.
The Wheats, yeah.
I mean, of course, when you want dessert and you're going to have a cigar, cigar cut's hard to beat because it's got that
There's variety in our,
and it's got the sweetness.
Yeah, in our lineup.
The way you've done the Wheated line to me is amazing. I've always been a Wheated fan. I love Maker's Mark and Weller and all the Wheated bourbons, but that high level of wheat, which I did not realize, I think that explains a lot.
It adds so much flavor.
Yeah, for sure.
It does. It really adds a lot of flavor. Well, tonight we've got a 8-year Wheated bourbon.
Okay.
So our barrels are really starting to hit that nice mature age.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what we're going to taste tonight?
Yeah. So we'll taste through the the 34% malted bourbon.
Okay.
And then we're going to taste the 8-year Wheated bourbon.
Yeah.
So I bet that one might be your favorite.
Maybe.
And then we've got a couple blends. So from there we kind of step into the blend category. So we'll taste our double wheat, which is a blend of our Wheated bourbon and our wheat whiskey.
Okay.
And then we're going to taste our 4-grain, which is a blend of our Wheated bourbon whiskey and our bourbon. It's a little bit softer profile. With some really great fruit flavors that come through in there. And then we'll get into the cigar blends. So we've got the cigar blend Island Cut, which is a blend of our wheat whiskey, our rye whiskey, our bourbon, and then I finished those in sherry and port and sauterne and
Which
rum
one is
rye.
that?
So that's going to be this one right
Is that
here.
that one? Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Yes. Okay.
And I think it'll be fun to hear people's feedback. But
is this the new version?
This is not. No. So the new version, I don't have it here, but I'm happy to.
So if I had bought one of these
off.
last year or early this year, it's the same one?
It's going to be the Island,
Okay.
most likely, unless you have one of the originals. But those went pretty fast. So
I have two. One
have
is
two.
older and they are different. So
Okay.
maybe I have the OG.
You have the
and
OG,
that one.
and then you have the Island blend.
And there's another one. And when
There's
is it
another
coming?
one. It's called
market.
Punch Cut.
Punch cut.
Punch
As
cut,
in a
so-
punch cut on a cigar.
Exactly.
That's
You got
awesome.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So we as you can see, there's an evolution of how we got into the cigar cuts, where we're like, wait, people really like this, and there's a lot of analogies that you can make between, what it happens with a cigar when you cut it, how you roll it, how you smoke it, how you enjoy it. The same as there's a lot of skill and art that goes into selecting what barrels make the cut for our blends.
Yeah.
And then how we finish them and how we blend them all together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. One of the first things that I notice when I see the bottle is, of course, the shape. Really cool cork. I'm all about the different corks.
Made to
but
look
then,
like
of
a
course,
antler.
these antlers, the pour spouts.
Yeah, these are.
Tell us about that.
So the elk head pour, we wanted to have a premium touch to the bottle that went along with the brand and the liquid that's in the bottle, and the liquid gold, really.
Big fan of the brand. Big fan of your everything y'all stand for, what you're doing, and tell us where the founder CEO is from. I think the audience will get a kick from that.
So Kurt is from our CEO. Yeah. So he is actually from Baton Rouge.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
And he went to LSU.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. He's a Louisiana boy.
Yeah, that intrigued me when he told us
Although
at
I
the
wouldn't call
Bourbon
him
Festival.
that. He's my boss. So
Would you say he's transplanted as a Coloradoan?
I
or
think
is
so. I think
he's
if you were to
getting
ask
there?
him that, he would say yeah.
Yeah,
He would say
fair
that.
enough.
But
So you came in the hottest month of the year.
it's
here.
great.
You like it?
I don't mind it. I don't mind it. I'm originally from Florida, so.
Okay, so you know about the heat and humidity.
It's good. It's good.
Not a big shocker there then.
We do something different than I think anybody else in the industry, and we do what we call as a slow cut proofing process. And what that involves is rather than cut our barrel proof down to bottling proof in 1 or 2 big steps, we actually do it over a period of about 2 or 2.5 weeks. And the reason we do that is when you add water to your high proof distillate, it actually is a heat liberating reaction, so you're inducing heat into your product. And when you do it in 1 or 2 steps, you can actually induce enough heat into your matured distillate that'll actually drive away some of the really delicate congeners that you've worked so hard to produce through your mash bill, through cooking, fermentation, and distillation, as well as maturation. So what we do is we do our cuts in very small steps. So we have incrementally small amounts of heat liberated into our product at any given time. And that's our way of protecting and preserving some of those delicate congeners, which adds to the balance and beauty of our products.
Hey everybody, just wrapped up the full tasting experience with Old Elk over at Triple Nickel. Was not able to film the actual tasting at the tasting, but was able to get the interview. A lot of ethanol. The 10-year straight wheated is coming in at 110 proof. So for me, right in my sweet spot, but still not at 120 or 130 or one of those big ones where you really can't or have to be careful about how you nose it. For this me, you can really get in there and get some of the good nuances from that straight whiskey. So the other interesting thing about Old Elk and their wheat mash bill is that they use a really high wheat content. So they're at, for most of you that know much about whiskey or know a whole lot about the wheat in most mash bills, you'll know that that's a pretty high amount considering, and a lot of them use wheat as a secondary grain. They'll still use a corn as their primary grain. So for this one, we're at a pretty high content. So keep in mind, because it's such a high wheat on that one, this is the straight wheat whiskey. This is not a bourbon because we know that would disqualify it from being a bourbon. So what do we have on the palate on the 10-year? A lot of the nose does transfer over. Still, man, so sweet on the palate. I would have never thought that you could make whiskey with this much wheat in it and it be as palatable as it is. I thought it would be maybe either over sweetened or just not complex or just not full bodied, just because it's so much of one grain. But we also know, if you know anything about JT Mellick, you know that they use 100% rice. So thinking outside the box is always a good option to do. So for me, the 10-year wheated whiskey is a great one. If you see this one, grab it. The word is that not a whole lot of this one left, and then not sure when this will be available again. So if you see one, grab it. It's a little over $100 on the MSRP. Well worth it. Next, let's look at the Cigar Cut. So for those of you guys that have know Old Elk and have seen it around a little bit, this one has probably gotten a little bit of the craze, or you've maybe heard of it because of the Cigar Cut. Cigar Cuts have become popular. Cigar enthusiasts like to have these with their cigar. It doesn't taste like cigars. It's obviously to complement the cigar by having a little bit of a sweeter finish than a traditional whiskey would.
Also something you might would have with dessert, or after having a meal, you have a cigar as a dessert. You want something sweet to go along with that cigar to complement it and not try and compete with it. So the Cigar Cut is finished in sherry for 2 years, port for 6 to 10 months, 8 months rum, and 6 months with the wine barrels Sonarés, which I suck at pronouncing. So what they do is they finish these in those 4 separate barrels and then blend those together after the fact. So it's not all of that whiskey being finished in those barrels multiple times. So it's finished in each barrel separately, and then they blend after, which is a unique blending style, which Mel has talked about in the interview we had. So that's pretty cool. For me, on the nose, the cigar finish it's very, very islandy. When I say islandy, I'm getting the rum's coming through. I'm getting those sweeter notes, maybe from the sherry and the rum together. It makes for a really interesting cigar cut. And I think in particular, this one is referred to as the Island Batch Cigar Cut. So yeah, Island Blend. So the Cigar Cut Island Blend, due to the types of blends and mixtures that are in this one. And I'll put that there so you can zoom in and see how the actual blend is. On the palate, I'm getting a lot of those very rum forward notes, sweet. Makes me feel like I should be on an island, on a beach somewhere, having a good time and hanging out with friends on a beach with a campfire and a cigar. I mean, that's what it makes me think about. So really good stuff. I think this one's around 120-ish MSRP. For me, if you like cigar cuts, you like stogie batches, all the different names for these, to me, this one is right there in the middle of the pack. It's one of my favorites of the ones I've had. There's some that I favor a little bit more because they're a little less sweet. Depends on the mood I'm in. Sometimes this is the one I'm going for. So really, with any other whiskey, that's kind of how it goes. It's whatever mood you're in. All right, so next I'd like to talk about and look at the single barrel. So this particular single barrel is a Wheated Bourbon Single Barrel Select. It's coming in at 113.8 proof. Now for me, this one's bringing me back to the very traditional bourbon type notes. Still getting a little bit of the wheat. Man, that's good. Caramel, a little butterscotch. Feel like if you took and had a little toasted butterscotch, not toasted because it was a toasted barrel, but just getting that caramelized caramel, almost like it's been in a pot cooking for a little bit. You get some of those roasty notes from it. Oh man, that's a really good single barrel. If you like more of your traditional bourbons, this is definitely going to be one for you. This is a single barrel, not from a particular store pick, just a standard single barrel. Had this one for a while. It's been opened twice, and kind of regretting I hadn't grabbed it again since. But you know how that goes when you have a bunch of different bottles. You cipher through them as you can. All right. So last two, I have the 2021 and the 2022 Infinity blends. The 2023 Infinity blend was already finished. It was amazing. We had that at the tasting at Triple Nickel. But this is the little bit older ones. I've been kind of hanging on to these two for a little while. Opened them up the other day just to kind of let them breathe. So what is the Infinity Blend? So the Infinity Blend, the 2021 blend, is going to be 60% of 6-year Old Elk straight bourbon whiskey. 24% of this is Kentucky straight bourbon. That's a 12-year. And looks like 16-year or 16% Kentucky straight bourbon at 11 years. So we got a 12-year and 11-year of Kentucky straight bourbon, and then we have the bulk of it being 6-year Old Elk bourbon that they distilled, right? So let's give it a nose. Oh man, now we're getting in a good spot here. As I mentioned in videos before and podcasts before, the 12 to 15 years is a good spot for me as far as, in my opinion, what some of the more premium flavors that I get or more premium notes that I get from my bourbons and ryes. Man, that is that's awesome. Caramel, vanilla. A lot more leather on this one. Traditional leather notes to me. Getting a little bit more of that vintage smell. Slight little dusty there. On the proof, we're looking at 114.9. I think the Old Elk distillate in this is still shining through, which is really good. But I feel like it's a little bit more sophisticated with those extra layers there. Some of the older stuff, the 11 and 12 year, are shining through as well. For me, I'm getting a little butterscotch on the mid palate. Man. That's really good juice there. All the best things you'd want out of a 12-year Kentucky bourbon mixed with some Old Elk. Let's see how it shakes up against the 2022 version. So on the 2022 version, what we're looking at is 10% of the 2021. So you took 10% of this 2021, blended it with 15% of 7-year Old Elk. 9% is 13-year Kentucky bourbon. 6% is 12-year Kentucky bourbon. And then they used 52% of the Old Elk straight wheat whiskey that was at 7 years. So that should make for an interesting blend. This one's also at 114.1. And this is the 2022 Infinity Blend. Oh, that's a whole different experience there. On the nose, immediately I'm getting confectionery, sugary notes. So for me, first time I'd ever heard that note from someone talking about whiskey, I really didn't know what they meant until I finally tasted it and smelled it in some different whiskeys. So for me, it kind of has that it taste of like powdered sugar, or what they call confectionery sugar. So it's a little sweeter, but almost like a creamy sweet. That's what I get on the nose immediately. So I guess if you had taken sugar and whipped cream and kind of whipped it and you smelled it right out of the bowl, that with a little bit of fruit, some caramel, vanilla, little butterscotch there on the nose coming through. Man, the nose on this is very complex. A lot more going on this one. I think this was this is a step up for sure. This one's good. This one's great. Let's go for the taste. On the palate. Wow. On the palate, I don't get as much of the confection sugar. I do get a little bit more of the caramel and vanilla. Going back to the nose, on the back of the palate, I was getting some leather there, but I was seeing if I got it on the nose. I don't get that on the nose, but on the palate, I was getting a little bit of leather, some burnt caramel. Very sophisticated, extra layers there. Also getting some bready notes there, like a sweet bread, almost like a sweet roll or sweet bun type bread. Not the cinnamon part of it, but the bread itself with the sugary notes there. Man, that's nice. Very glad to have the 2022 still. I was just glad to have this one. That's good stuff. I think of these, the 2022 Infinity Blend would probably be my favorite. Not that this is the full lineup by any means, but if you have not had any of these Old Elk products, definitely find them. Their 4-grain is probably one of the best 4 grains on the market, in my opinion. I finished the one I had, so I can't necessarily review it here, but for me, it's all the best parts of a grain, of a 4-grain whiskey. So that 4th grain sometimes is kind of what some whiskeys need, and sometimes it brings it home. The other great thing about all of these is these are sitting at a higher proof. So I think all of these are 110 and above. So for me, 110, 120, that's a spot to be in. So even if you want to put it on a rock or have it with a little bit of water or make it into an old fashioned, however you want to have it, the proof can handle it. It can stand up to it. You can still keep all of those good notes that you want to have in a great product. So can't speak enough good about these products that Greg has distilled and Mel has blended, and the team at Old Elk over there in Fort Collins has just knocked it out of the park with most of these products. Can't say good enough stuff about them. Hope you enjoyed this review about these 5 I have in front of me, and the interview with Mel is just a quick little taste into kind of what they're doing and their way of life and their thought process behind how to make great whiskey. So until next time, this is Dylan with Bourbon United.